Hi everyone, welcome back to the Learnify channel. Today we're going to be going over IB Biology topic 3.1 with you guys, and I'm going to be covering it to the level of standard level, even though you may be high level. I did high level personally, and there are some links between this and some of the later topics you do, like topic 10, and we'll link to that later on. But for today's purposes, we're going to be looking over 3.1, which is all about what a gene is. So a gene can be defined as a heritable factor that consists of a length of DNA. And by length of DNA, I mean sequence of DNA. DNA is kind of like, we call it the genetic code. So you can think about coding. If you guys are computer science students or have studied some form of computer science, you'll resonate with this where a gene, a code will be like a sequence of a particular number of values. So in DNA, we have these things called nucleic acids, which have different bases, and the sequence of those bases determines what a gene is. So, for example, for eye color, a certain sequence will be giving someone black eyes versus brown eyes or blue eyes. The next thing you need to know about genes is that there are these things called chromosomes. Now, chromosomes are like this super compact form of DNA. DNA is normally in the form of chromatin, which is unwound, but when it supercoils, that's the fancy word for basically hardening and becomes super compact in biology, um, it becomes something called a chromosome you may have heard of. And the cool thing about genes is that genes always occupy a certain spot in a chromosome. So, for example, if this is chromosome 3, in every human being, this part is a gene for the same exact characteristics. So let's say this was eye color. In your mom's genes, this section would be eye color, and in your dad's, anyone else's in the world, this section would be the gene for eye color. So that's pretty cool. Now, the other thing you might have noticed is that we don't have the same genes as everyone else. Some people have blue eyes, some people have red eyes, and well, maybe not red eyes, but maybe brown eyes. And that's where alleles come in. Alleles are different forms of the same gene. Remember how I said that genes are determined by the sequence of DNA? Well, if that sequence is different, say for example, this will make sense soon. If this section was AAA, but this was AAT, right? In um, in a person, then this person may have different colored eyes. So, for example, triple A could be black eyes, whereas double A, and then a T could be blue eyes. So these we call alleles, which are different versions of the same gene. So, for example, eye color, different alleles would be different colors for the eyes. Another cool thing to note is that alleles actually differ from each other only based on a few differences in the genetic code. So the genetic code could be millions of letters long, but there could be a slight switch in A versus T. And because of that, there could be different alleles, which we'll talk about later in terms of mutations. But that's pretty cool knowing that small changes in the DNA can have dramatic changes in the physical person, which seems kind of magnificent. And that's something you need to know about. This is important because when you have different changes in DNA, say for example, this is the intended sequence, right? But it then ends up becoming this. Then we can have changes, which we call a mutation, because it's an unintended change in DNA or a change in DNA. And sometimes it can be beneficial, it can be harmful, depends on what kind of change occurs. But a substitution or a change in the base sequence can lead to a mutation. Mutations then lead on to make new alleles. So, for example, this mutation could have led to blue eyes, and some mutation could lead to rainbow eyes. You never know. Next, we have this word called the genome, which is the sum of all the genetic information in an organism. So, your genome would be all the DNA from a cell of your own, because as you probably already know, each of your cells in the body contains that all the DNA that makes you up. So um, your genome would be that amount of DNA in that cell, which is the same across every cell in your body. It's the sum of all genes in an organism, but that's a definition you have to know. Next, you need to know about this thing called the Human Genome Project, which is basically this science experiment that was used to code the entire human genome, so all the genes. And as you can expect, this is really useful in treating genetic conditions and figuring out what best ways we can improve quality of life for humans. Next, you need to know about this thing called sickle cell anemia, which is basically this condition where the gene sequence has changed a bit, and because of this, you have different shapes of blood cells. The hemoglobin gene is mutated, so you have these sickle-shaped blood cells, which can get caught in your veins and your blood vessels, leading to a lot of pain. And that can actually lead to resistance in malaria because this mutated form of hemoglobin actually makes it harder for the malaria bugs to actually survive in your blood cells. So it's got its pluses and benefits. Sometimes you can call sickle cell anemic people fully sickle cell anemic if they have a what we call a homozygous trait. If it's a heterozygous trait, you can call them partially affected. So that's something to also know. Other than that, that's going to be it for this video, guys. Hope you enjoyed topic 3.1 in IB biology in around 5 minutes. As I already told you guys, I'm going to be summarizing and doing a lot of summary videos, then moving on to a lot of in-depth videos in IB biology. And I think this will be really beneficial from the feedback I received previously. And if you guys do appreciate the content and want to see me uploading more, make sure you smash that like button, leave a comment down below as to what topics you want me to cover, and also smash that subscribe button and join the Learnify family. We're nearly at 100 subscribers. Let's aim for 3 likes on this video. Anyways, that's going to be it. See ya.